Scene one, act one.
Hi, Jeff. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
Are you comfortable?
Yes, I am. My back hurts though.
I know you are. Your back hurts. At any time, if you are uncomfortable, we can stop this and we can pick up when you're more comfortable. Is that okay?
Okay.
Understand? Okay. Um, Jeff, I want to talk to you today about some concerns you have at work.
hmm
Could you tell me a little bit about your concern?
Yeah, I've been in the military, active duty for 24 years. I just recently came off a 170-day TDY to Kyrgyzstan. I worked with a female reserve chief, which is one rank above me. I'm an E8. You can only go to E9, so that's the hierarchy level of the rank structure. So she's one rank above me. So I had never met her before, but I was on this deployment, and she constantly made my life miserable. Um, there were times where I would go home after work. We worked a 12-hour shift. I worked 5 at night till 5 in the morning, and then she worked 5 in the morning till 5 at night. And it was a pretty volatile relationship that we had. We were constantly arguing with each other, constantly fighting back and forth, and it was very frustrating.
Okay, I hear that you were very frustrated and that sometimes it made you angry. And it sounds like you were working a lot of hours.
Right.
You both were working a lot of hours. And it is stressful being on a deployment. So when you add in the long hours and the maybe miscommunication and to this chief, that it does get stressful. I understand that. Could you explain me the working relationship that you both had?
Well, like I said, I worked 5 at night till 5 in the morning, and then she worked 5 in the morning till 5 at night. We'd have to do a turnover, basically a debrief of what happened during the daytime or nighttime versus each other. And the process was I would drive over to where she lived, pick her up. We'd sit in the truck for 15, 20 minutes and do turnover, and then she would drive back to work, and then vice versa, the opposite shift. Well, she would end up inevitably working 5 in the morning till 8 or 9 o'clock at night, whereas I would work 5 at night till 5 in the morning and just give her turnover and be done by 5:30. So it was like 15 minutes I was in the truck with her. So I really worked 12 hours and 15, 20 minutes. Well, she got to the point where she felt like I wasn't giving her enough information, and that I was in a hurry to get out of there. So it came to a head one day where we got into a huge argument, where she claimed that is perceived that I was in a hurry to get out of there through her perception.
Okay. Now, are you working with others that are more ranked than you, some other higher rank chiefs or commanders?
Yes, I work with the equivalent of her rank and up, to include officers, anywhere from lieutenant to a full bird colonel in the Air Force. And none of them ever had a problem with my performance. As a matter of fact, I tried to touch base with them a couple of times to see if it was my duty performance that was causing the problems. And I had been told numerous times that I was doing a fabulous job by equivalent ranks from her on up.
Well, it sounds like you're doing a great job, and maybe there's some miscommunication with this chief when it comes to, you were saying, your feedback and the turnover.
Right. There might have been a little bit of miscommunication because you can't get everything you need to get out in a 15, 20-minute conversation in a truck. You're inevitably going to miss something. So that's what caused the heated argument. I come in and she said, this turnover thing's not working. So I would end up having to she told me, well, maybe it's perceived that you're in a hurry to get out of here, but also you worked a less amount of hours. So that really made me blew my top, and I wanted to kill her. Not literally, but I felt very enraged in anger. The anger portion of it was just really bad.
Okay, well, I see that this relationship, you know, you said it was volatile and it made you angry. It sounds like that it's miscommunication where you're giving, turnover during the morning in the truck. Like you said, it might not be enough time. Also, let's see what I wrote here. It said also I could see how your relationships with the other chiefs and higher ranking officials, your working relationship's going well and you're being appreciated and you feel respected. And so it sounds like there's some miscommunication. Is that what you...
Yes, I took a step back and I analyzed what I was doing, what she had perceived was seeing an outward look at myself. So I tried to analyze what I was doing wrong, and then yes, maybe there was a little bit of miscommunication. So I tried working on that, and I think that that's being a positive step on my part to try to resolve the problem, because I do take an external look at myself to make sure that, hey, if there is something that I'm doing wrong, maybe I can try to see it from somebody else's perspective and try to fix the problem and be a better person, because it does take two to tango, and we do all have to work commonly together to accomplish the mission. We just need to, and I believe effective communication is the key. Sometimes it's very difficult to work with other people, but communication, yes, is very important.
Well, I hear what you're saying. Your communication is very important in the workplace, and it sounds like you're making some positive steps towards this working relationship, but you're still feeling angry. So after talking with you today, what are some goals that you think that would make this relationship a better working relationship that you could try?
Well, like I said, communication is key. So I think that if I'm more open to people's perception of myself, that's going to help me be a better, more effective leader. Teamwork, working together to accomplish the goal, like I said, together as a team, because there's no I in teamwork. There's no single person. Everybody has to work together as a team. But what's more important is sometimes you get shuffled into a deployment where you have to work with other people, and it's very difficult because of the backgrounds, their social, every type of cultural backgrounds you have to deal with. So I have to look at it from that perspective as well, and as well as working with Air National Guard or reserves and active duty meshed together. We've come up and know that teamwork has to be very important.
Well, I hear what you're saying about teamwork being very important, and it's important to be respected in the workplace, especially when you're working under such conditions, you know, being deployed away from your families. And you're right about the cultural competence of other people and learning to be able to communicate with them with feedback and not hurting other people's feelings. So, let's see. To achieve your goal of being able to communicate and not feeling so angry, it sounds like you might, you're telling me that the feedback, you might need to have more feedback, and maybe not in the truck, you know, in a more, you know, before, maybe in the office where she has all your attention. Does that sound like something you think that might,
Yes,
make it a more positive relationship?
and I've actually worked on that as well, because I tried to see through her eyes what she was talking about. And yes, effective feedback from her and staying a little bit later has made the situation much better. So again, I can understand from her perspective. It just would be better if she could understand from my perspective. Sometimes she doesn't seem as receptive as that. basically she's the boss and that's the way it's going to be. So sometimes it's more easier for me to adapt and look at things from an outside standpoint and try to adjust what I'm doing.
Well, what I hear you saying is you are taking positive steps to try to mend this relationship, this working relationship. You obviously have been in the military for 24 years, and you were telling me that you have wonderful working relationships with the other chiefs and commanders that you work with, and it sounds like you work hard, and being respected is very important to you. But it also sounds like if you're still angry, you're not feeling respected, and you are making positive steps towards this relationship. So on a scale 1 to 10, how do you feel that, what number do you feel that you're actually putting in to this relationship to have positive feedback?
Well, I know that I'm at a high 8 or 9 because I'm more, like I said, receptive to the change, to seeing what she's seeing externally. I'm 43, she's 52, so she's almost 9 years older than me. For example, it's a little easier for me to navigate through technology than it is for her to navigate through technology. Not being biased or stereotyping, but I've been doing it a lot longer, whereas the reserves, they only do it 2 times a month on one weekend. So yes, I'm more fluid, I feel, in the working relationship than she is. But it's like I said, it's easier for me to adapt and overcome where it is for her not to.
Okay, now to get to that 9 or 10, are there things that you can think of that you could do to get to maybe where you're...
Yeah, and I actually looked at a couple of those. I could probably take a little bit more time and train her to show her some of my knowledge and impart some of my wisdom to her so that hopefully, she'll be a little bit more receptive and understand that I'm trying to help her, not work against her.
Oh, well, that's a great idea. So, how would you feel working on that from now until our next session?
Okay.
And we can just see how the relationship changes and see, and it might not, it just might be a communication problem. So you might, are there ways that you work around to take off some stress during your day?
Well, I've been exercising and, I like to run and work out a little bit, so that's been relieving a little bit of stress.
Excellent.
And I'm watching what I eat, not so much fried foods anymore.
Very good. So it sounds like you're in control and you're doing these little healthy points to help with the stress at work. So that sounds great. Are you willing to try these extra steps of communication and taking your time to show her how you work?
Yes, that's actually being beneficial. I've already started doing it since our last session. I've talked just a little bit. I've changed some of my ways, and it's, like I said, easier for me to adapt and try to change my persona than it is for someone else.
Oh, wonderful. It sounds like you're making great steps towards, towards this working relationship. Okay, so you'll be willing to come in and talk about it again with me?
Yes.
Towards these steps. Very good. Well, thank you for your time.
You're
Is there
welcome.
any other concerns you have for me today?
No, that'll do it.
That'll do it? Okay, well, it's great seeing you again, and we'll take up next week.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.